Today in our lineup, we're talking about some practical solutions to getting people better quality and more access to mental health care. The changes that can be made now, including what we can all do. Also, we're inside the unique high school program, getting teens quality paying jobs right after they graduate. Plus, the Army's fitness test is changing for the first time since 1980. How it's trying to prepare soldiers better.
Thank you, Chris. I'm Amanda Starantino, and you're watching the Now Indy. The Johnson County Sheriff's Office is showing off a new piece of technology they say will help them investigate scenes faster. Now, to put it simply, this new Faro 3D scanner will make the investigations that happen in the count even more accurate. Now, while the machine is getting a 360-degree view of the area, it's also taking thousands upon thousands of tiny measurements that investigators need. Investigators are also now able to revisit digital replicas of crash and crime scenes and get a real sense of what the scene looked like even after the area has been cleaned up.
In the past, if we wanted to go and get some measurements that maybe we didn't get the first time, we would have to go and rely on our paint marks that we made, speaking of a crash scene specifically, and then we could take measurements off that again. But obviously at that point, the vehicles would already be towed, the debris would be cleaned up, and the area would be drastically different than when we were actually there.
The Faro 3D scanner costs around $60,000, and Barnhart says thanks to a grant from county commissioners, they did not have to use money from their own budget. And tonight in our Hiring Hoosiers report, it's putting a spotlight on an effort by a local hospital to train more people to be emergency medical responders to serve Hoosiers living in rural areas. Within Medical Services is offering emergency medical responder classes. The certification is a great start for anyone who wants to work toward becoming an EMT or other medical-related job. That's what Cody Eldridge did after taking the class. The class starts with basic anatomy and physiology, and then students learn basic skills for handling common cardiac and respiratory emergencies. They also learn how to recognize signs and symptoms of strokes and behavioral disorders. The class is also very beneficial to people who live in more rural parts of Boone County, where there may not be emergency services as immediately available as in a metro area. Giving us
someone out there that would know CPR or some airway management, simple stuff, really does help us. So if you're looking for something that's rewarding, it's definitely that.
Someone trained at this level could be associated with a volunteer fire department or home health care. If you're interested in the class, we have details on how to sign up at hiringhoosiers.com. The final day to sign up is tomorrow.
All right, it's not a lot of sunshine, but as we look west over Indianapolis, you can see a few breaks in the cloud cover there, and we will certainly take it because we have been locked into the clouds here the last several days. Satellite and radar, and you can pick out where we've got a little thinning of that cloud cover across portions of Hendricks County, down in and around the Columbus area, but already back to the south and west, those clouds filling back in. We're going to be dry this evening, though, so no worries of any precipitation, but where we had some of that clearing, temperatures responding, making their way into the 40s. 42 right now in Bedford, 40 in Bloomington. Meanwhile, it's 35 in Greenfield and Muncie, 33 in Tipton. This evening, those temperatures, they hold fairly steady for us with those mostly cloudy skies and just a light wind that's going to be in place. It's tomorrow morning that things change up a little bit. This is TrueCast at 6 o'clock, and you can see already around Bedford, Seymour, and not too far away from the Sullivan area, we've got some light snow. That will continue to fill in from south to north as we go through the morning, but I think it's going to be very light. It's just going to line up with some of the morning commute there. Coming up, we'll talk more about those snow impacts, the return of more widespread sunshine, and how that will result in highs in the 50s. Chris?
Today, the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. Doctors are now monitoring a second coronavirus patient in Illinois. CDC says the second patient is married to the first patient they diagnosed. Now, this is the first time the virus has spread from person to person in the U.S., and doctors expect to see more of these type of transmissions here. But they did reiterate that getting the coronavirus in the U.S., the chances of that happening are relatively low. The flu is still a much bigger threat here. Now, to give you some perspective on that, more than 8,000 people have died from the flu this season in the U.S. 15 million have gotten sick. Now, when it comes to avoiding both viruses, it's important to wash your hands, avoid people who are sick, and stay home if you're not feeling well. The CDC and infectious disease doctors say that those masks that you keep seeing people wear, they don't necessarily help.
With respect to masks, there are a couple of concerns. It may create a sense of false security in terms of risk for getting an infection, and they might do these other things like touch their face with their unclean hands.
Doctors say right now it's hard to tell whether one virus is more infectious than the other, mostly because the coronavirus is so new. Now, regardless, it's important to take precautions, and if you are sick, definitely see doctors if it becomes difficult to breathe. Let's start the Now News Feed. The Trump administration is expected to open the door for the military to use landmines more. More than 160 countries have banned them, but the Pentagon is recommending the U.S. reverse an Obama-era policy that curbed their use. African-American women are most at risk of dying related to pregnancy issues. A new government study found that they're 2.5 times more likely to die than white women. Researchers are still looking for an exact reason why. A new government report is raising questions about safety on Southwest Airlines. The report says that Southwest flew millions of people on jets that had unconfirmed maintenance records. The Transportation Department is faulting the FAA for lack of oversight, but Southwest is telling the Wall Street Journal its safety systems meet or exceed regulatory requirements. Let's get back to our lineup. Mental health is getting more attention, but there are still major challenges in making sure everyone who needs help gets it. We're looking into new solutions to make care more available.
Street, State Road 37 in Fishers.
Welcome back to the Now Indy. It's time for young people in Marion County to think about summer jobs, and there are hundreds of opportunities through Project Indy. Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett went to Tease Me Cafe this morning to help launch the 5th year of Project Indy. It's the mayor's youth jobs program. Tease Me Cafe, owned by former Fever star Tamika Catchings, is one of 175 employers posting summer jobs through Project Indy. Project Indy is geared toward people ages 16 to 24. If you are interested in signing up, go to projectindy.com.
Two new sets of statistics are showing Americans are in desperate need of better mental health and substance abuse care. Drug overdose deaths in America dropped for the first time in nearly 3 decades. More than 67,000 people died in 2018, according to the CDC. That's the second worst year for drug overdose deaths in U.S. history. The U.S. also has the highest suicide rate among the most wealthy nations.
We lift up actionable solutions for Congress that really allow us to increase access, improve affordability, and to provide more meaningful, timely services to individuals that are in need.
Ben Miller is talking about a new report out today from the foundation Wellbeing Trust. It's a roadmap for how to improve mental health and addiction care. It addresses things that can be done in all places where people with mental health or substance abuse issues show up, like schools, work, even primary doctors.
Why wouldn't we make it easier for our schools to talk to our healthcare facilities, for them to exchange information? If there's a child in need, they should be able to talk to each other so that that child can get adequate and coordinated care.
Miller says outside of the need for more funding and resources, the report addresses barriers to mental health care like stigma. Now, a lot of that starts with how we talk to each other.
When we change the nature of the language that we use in talking to one another, we begin to change the culture of how we address mental health in this nation.
This report will be shared with Congress. Now, if you or someone you know needs help, you take a look at your screen here. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available, 1-800-273-8255. All right, ahead in our lineup here on the Now, the Army is making a big change for the first time in 40 years. We're going to get an inside look at the new fitness test preparing our military.
RTV6 is working for you.
Well, it's a big change for our military members. The Army is modifying its fitness test for the first time in 40 years. Kai Beach takes us to Fort Jackson in South Carolina to see the action.
The United States Army wants you to get in better shape.
Starting position, move.
Well, actually, they want their soldiers to train harder, smarter,
and cadence,
and more efficiently.
Exercise.
It's time to look at how do we change not only how we test, but how we train our soldiers.
Major General Lonnie Hibbard has a master's degree in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College. And he's responsible for getting soldiers combat ready.
how do we enable our soldiers to be prepared physically and mentally for the rigors of combat on the future battlefield.
All right, let's get after it.
To make that happen, the Army is evolving athletically for the first time since 1980. Gone are the old days of PT training. For the past 4 decades, soldiers were tested on how many push-ups and sit-ups they can do in 2 minutes and how fast they can run 2 miles. Now the Army's moving into a new decade with a new way to evaluate soldier strength and endurance, and it's called the Army Combat Fitness Test.
The new Army Combat Fitness Test is actually scientifically developed to test those skills and those strengths that every soldier is going to need regardless of their military occupational specialty within the Army.
General Hibbard says the ACFT is part of the Army's culture change on fitness, and it's better preparing soldiers for their jobs while also reducing injuries. But it's also in response to America's obesity epidemic.
We're looking for those hot spots, right?
Well, the change is looking at how we're doing physical fitness and what we're measuring.
The Army is facing recruiting troubles.
In any service, about 3 out of 10 of the 18 to 24-year-olds are able to qualify for service these days. And so when we get those soldiers in, we have to do everything we can to ensure they're physically fit, and we keep them healthy through their service. No matter what your job is in the military, you can find yourself in direct combat. And because of that, you have to be, not only proficient in your tasks that your job is, but you have to be physically prepared for the rigors of combat.
Kaiser!
And though this new fitness test is more intense than the old one,
All right, my graders over there waiting on you.
the Army says when it comes to recruiting soldiers, it's more focused on attracting quality over quantity. With photographer Drew Snadicki, I'm Kai Beach reporting.
Details matter when it comes to making intricate costumes. In an age where everything can be ordered online, there are some exceptions. Our Rafael Sanchez found a room where everything depends on a needle and a spool of thread.
The sewing machine rattles while steps are rehearsed. These performers seek perfection while pins are being put in place.
There's something very relaxing about the sewing.
This is the costume shop for the Indianapolis Ballet, where crafting, cutting, and creating never seems to stop, with multiple productions on the horizon.
Many of these costumes that I'm replicating that were the original Karinskas, I don't have patterns. I'm going by pictures.
Vicki Lyris works side by side with her mother. Everyone calls her Yaya.
I love sewing, and I started sewing 9 years old, so it's a very long time.
Yaya is 90 years young, with an eye for fashion. The mother-daughter team are behind every major outfit worn on stage. Each ballet costume is personally handcrafted. Several students do help out.
Having a well-made costume that you can move in and breathe in, but also it holds you together and makes you feel your best on stage, it's really important.
You'd be amazed at how much work goes into each piece.
In this room, needles and threads weave through fabrics, like dancers glide through a routine. Both have much in common. Both seek to captivate their audiences. Neither can do it solely.
Detail and tremendous amount of time to create the magic.
And the team is looking at sewing a couple thousand stones for their next production. That will be Valentine's Day weekend at the Toby Theater at Newfields. Kyle.
This time looking north over Indianapolis and not seeing much sunshine at all. Just that blanket of cloud cover, a little bit of thinning here and there. But as we mentioned, the clouds continuing to win out here, at least temporarily. We've got cloudy skies, 36 in downtown, 40 in Bloomington, where you saw a little more sunshine earlier, and that wind is very light for us. Tonight, our temperature down around 30 degrees as we'll keep that light wind in place and cloudy skies. Now, by tomorrow morning, may want to factor in a little extra travel time, especially from I-70 to the south. That's where we'll see more of the snow building in, just a couple of light snow showers around Lafayette and into the Monticello area. areas. As we go toward midday, a few snow showers still left over central and southern areas. And as those temperatures begin to warm up, a little bit of a wintry mix around Bedford and Seymour. But as we get into tomorrow evening's drive, I think it's all out of here. And it is going to be very light. Most areas less than an inch of any snow accumulation. Could see around an inch of that in Bedford and around Seymour. But as we go into tomorrow afternoon, temperatures climbing above the freezing mark to 37. So that snow melting away. And as we look at the next few days of your forecast, we're going to see those temperatures continuing to warm here on Saturday. Slight chance of a mix there. 53 on Sunday and close to 60 Monday. Chris?
Technology is changing demands on workers faster than they can keep up. Groups are calling for an overhaul of how we invest in education as a country. They want more access and assistance to learn middle skills. We're talking about the training that's above high school level, but not a four-year college degree. About 53% of jobs require middle skills. Only 43%, though, of the workforce is trained at that level.
That skills mismatch is not just for folks who maybe are trying to get in the labor market or trying to get into a better job. It's also for folks who are currently working and need to upgrade their skills.
Now, we're talking about plumbers, electricians, healthcare technicians. Positions in IT and manufacturing are also in need of constant skills upgrades because of automation. Now, according to the National Skills Coalition, only 14% of almost $140 billion spent on federal student aid goes to people looking for skills training. Now, it's an economy and values problem, according to this group.
What that is saying is, if your aspiration is to be a plumber or to be a technician in a hospital, that is not a valid aspiration.
Polling of likely 2020 voters found 86% want the country to invest in training at the same level that we invest in four-year degrees. Well, imagine going straight from high school to a high-paying job. Annie Taylor found an innovative high school giving students the ability to do just that.
Last year, my junior year, I had no idea what I was going to do. It was one of those, okay, it's my junior year. I got to figure out where am I going to go to college or what am I going to do? You know, this whole frantic thing.
A feeling most teens go through as high school comes to an end.
Oh, you need to go to college. You know, the whole, if you don't go to college, you're a screw up, you're a failure. Or if you go to trade school, oh, what the heck are you doing at trade school?
It wasn't until Thor Barlow signed up for Cherry Creek Innovation Campus that he found his passion.
And ideally, I'd love to be a pilot.
Students go part-time to regular high school and the other half to CCIC. For a fee, they can take part in automotive technology, in advanced manufacturing training, food service, and infrastructure engineering. You might be thinking, what's special about Innovation Campus when high schools across the country offer vocational classes? Well, Principal Mark Morgan says they're different.
About half our kids that are coming to our school right now, they'll be going right into the workforce with an industry-recognized certification.
Society has led kids to believe that a college education is the only way they can land a well-paying job. But going to college has left many drowning in debt. College loan debt is now around $1.6 trillion in the U.S. Principal Morgan says college is great for some of their students, like Morgan Stevens, who's in the construction program.
I will get a lot of knowledge from here that other people will just jump into college not knowing. I also might be exempt from some classes at college because I already have the certifications I need.
But for others, college might not be for them, especially if they want to save money.
In our aviation program, if students were to start with us as a sophomore, take that accelerated program, go all the way through to graduation, it would cost them a little under $1,000. If they were to take that same education after they graduated, it would cost them more like $40,000.
No matter the path these kids choose to take, Principal Morgan says they just need to be given the opportunity to succeed.
So whether it's college or whether it's the workforce, what we're hearing loud and clear from our community is let's give our students the opportunities to learn more about that before they graduate high school and see where it takes them.
I'm Annie Taylor reporting.
Annie, thank you. Next in our lineup, life in the U.S. can be tough for new immigrants. How a new tool is trying to help them not feel so alone.